wait.
1, 2.
There's 2 now.
It doesn't matter if the Rock counts to 3.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Botched 3 Count podcast. My name is Tyler, and my co-host here, his name is George. Or otherwise known as Splash. Depends on where you're watching him or if you know him or not. Yeah. But yes, this is the Botched 3 Count podcast, the pro wrestling podcast that has a very diverse roster of a longtime wrestling fan and somebody who's practically haven't seen in the last 10 years, right?
Yeah, just about. It's been 10, 11 years.
Well, 2011? I mean, not 11, 2010, 9, around that time?
Yeah, 2002. Yeah, I think that's what we were talking about last time. I think around 2010, 2009 is when, I stopped completely.
Yeah. And I've been watching since 2000 well, I first saw it in 2001. I didn't start watching until 2005. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we originally were going to have a third person on here that was a non-wrestling fan, someone who has, never seen wrestling ever in their life. But stuff happened, plan fails through, so sadly, that person is not on it. But, hey, we're on and we're looking for a third right now. So that third person will be joining us a little bit later on in this podcast. So right now, it's just 2 people. So this is the core group. This is the starter. We're the pioneers of the podcast. Exactly. It's nice to be first of something, finally. But anyway, so we just got done watching. Well, I can't say we just got done because it was a few days ago. But we finished watching Double or Nothing 2021 last night. Because when I originally started watching the show, I watched it live on Sunday. If you're listening to this, it's June 4th, 2021. And the show happened on May 31st, 2021. And I watched the show live. And George over here was supposed to watch it live with me. But I think something happened and you ended up coming in halfway through. You came in during the Cody Rhodes match.
Yeah, I think it was 3 matches.
Yeah, he missed the first 4 matches. So I can't really say if you enjoyed the last half or not, but we didn't end up getting to the first half until the last night. So we actually, for him, he just finished the show.
Yeah, but it was nice. I liked it.
Yeah, exactly. But before we get into our, review thoughts on Double or Nothing 2021, I figured maybe we could both give the audience an introduction to ourselves and how we kind of got into pro wrestling. So, what was your introduction to watching this work of art that is professional wrestling?
Honestly, when I was all right, I think I was living in Jersey at the time, which I think I was Jersey at 4. I was 4, I think. Mm-hmm. And my cousins used to just have it on, and then all of a sudden I wasn't too interested in it until what we started doing was I started going over there a lot, and we started play wrestling and doing all that crap. And then after that I started getting really into I guess watching WWE. And I didn't really know the specifics. I knew a lot of wrestlers, and I thought a lot of them were really cool. But I guess after a while, after we moved and everything like that, slowly I just started moving apart from it. Because obviously, when we got to Delaware, I hung out less with my cousins, and which also meant I watched it less. And in general, as they got older, they moved away from it a little, slower. But as for me,
do you know if any of them still watch?
Yeah. So from time to time, my cousins will catch a show. I know last year or 2 years ago they went to an actual show. I'm not sure which one. Mm-hmm. So they're still into it, here and there, and they'll still know some wrestlers. But I definitely know they're not as into it as they were when they were younger. But they still kind of kept up with it, so that was pretty cool. As for me though, I probably didn't watch any wrestling until you showed me that 2019 match or event. So, but yeah, that's about it. I got back into it obviously because I was, and it was really funny because I thought of it over the years. I was bored, you know what I mean? So for the most part, like I didn't get back into football because football, I think 2 years ago I stopped watching.
Are we talking soccer football or like American football?
No, American football.
Oh, okay.
Football, yeah.
You gotta
I watch,
specify here.
yeah, I watch actual like soccer from time to time. I definitely show up for FIFA, like the World Cup.
Yeah.
And then I'll watch like Copa de Americas and like I'll watch like a couple of like English premieres, stuff like that, but not like too much, you know what I'm saying? Not as much anymore. Because like I was saying, like I started getting kind of a little bored with sports because I don't know, I guess after COVID hit or whatever, like things just didn't get like things weren't that exciting, especially with football since, you know, things were kind of, it felt just the same every year.
Yeah.
So
I understand that.
yeah, so it was kind of like I thought about wrestling here and there, like over the last like who knows, and then when I met you, I was like, you know what? I was like, shit. I was like, I've been thinking about this, and you know, it's pretty interesting. So, and now we're here.
Now we're here. Started from the
Now
bottom.
we're here.
So you said that you thought about it throughout the years. Did you ever like attempt, or like was it just a thought in your mind?
So, I think at one point I did look at like WWE again or something.
That was your first mistake.
Yeah, I know. Because I saw something and it was like really fucking weird, and I was like, I don't know. And then after that, like, again, it was just thought back and forth because I watched a ton of anime. It's funny, and in those animes,
Weep.
some of them I know, some of them like would talk about like, you know, pro wrestling, and like some of them would actually like so I watched this, I forget what it was, I think it was like Kengan and Ashuran or something like that, or Kengan tournaments or whatever, but it's like this whole fighting anime, and this dude, like, he's a pro wrestler and he does underground fighting, and he started like just explaining like these crazy things about wrestling, and then it just kind of popped that back into my mind again. So like every time I do something, wrestling always like pops back into like the question, so it just kind of always comes back, and that's why like I've been thinking about it over the couple years. So, you know.
Oh, that's such a genuine story. And
Yeah, I guess by coincidences.
wait, it all led you up to this moment. So that's all.
Yeah.
It's all that matters. It's all that matters. And for me, I know this is currently on my YouTube channel, but we might have some new listeners here, so I guess I have to re-explain. For me, I got into wrestling around 2005. Before that, in 2001, because I was born in 1997, so 2001 I was about 4 years old. I remember this vague memory. I was with my mom, and we were heading to my grandparents' house. Now, at the time, in 2001, pro wrestling was very, very popular. Like, a lot of people watched pro wrestling at the time. So we were going to my grandmother's house, and I remember vaguely being in the room. She was holding me, and it was like they were my uncle and my grandfather were playing chess, because that's what they do all the time. And then in the living room, my grandmother was watching Vengeance Day 2001. And I remember it was like the very end of the show, and this guy named Chris Jericho had just beaten The Rock and Stone Cold. And I was like, whoa, that's so cool. But it was like the very end of the show, so I didn't really see any matches that happened. Like, I just remember the memory of seeing Chris Jericho holding both championships. Thought he was like the coolest guy ever. And as the years went on from like 2001 to 2005, I think I might have caught it a few times, but I don't remember actually watching wrestling. I think my mom didn't want me to watch wrestling at that time, so I think that's probably why I didn't end up watching it from like that 01 05 period. I remember playing a lot of wrestling video games growing up, though. So like in 2000, maybe 2001, I had my PlayStation, the original PlayStation 1. And the first game I ever owned was WWF SmackDown. And I remember whenever I would play that game, my key characters I would play as were Mankind, The Undertaker, and Chyna. And it was mainly because they had like really cool entrances. Because like in the old games, like in the newer games, like, you know, they had the model characters make an entrance down to very fleshed out, very detailed. Back in like 2000, when they were creating WWF SmackDown, like it was just these like 2D models walking through a entrance entrance video in the background, and I always found the entrance videos really cool. Like I always found Undertaker, Mankind, and Chyna's appealing, so I always played as them. I don't remember if I was good at the game or not, but I remember playing that game a lot, and that really grew into my my love for wrestling video games, because to this day I still play wrestling video games, and I've owned I think like just about every wrestling video game outside of maybe a few from like the original Xbox and a few from like the GameCube and maybe a couple from the PlayStation. But I own just about every game from the SmackDown vs. Raw series up until WWE 2K19, because I bought WWE 2K20 on PC because it was on sale and I never played it, so I can't even honestly say I own 2K20. That's like the one wrestling game that's a blemish on my record. Oh yeah, and 2K Battlegrounds, I never played that game either. But outside of wrestling video games, so let's fast forward to 2005. So 05 comes around, and I don't remember exactly how I got into watching at this time. I'm pretty sure it was my dad, because my dad watched wrestling at the time as well. I think he was just watching a show, and I sat down and watched it with him, and I'm like, yeah, this is really cool. Yeah. So as the years go on, elementary school, I'm really getting into it. And I remember 2006. Was it 2006, 2005? I think it was 2006. 2005. It was either 2005 2006. It was 1 year I was watching Monday Night Raw, and at this time the WWE champion was Edge, and Edge was with his girlfriend Lita, and they won the championship. And the night after, Monday Night Raw, they had this segment called the live sex celebration, and my mom heard of it, and she banned me for watching wrestling for an entire year.
I think I know which event you're talking about.
Well, it's hard not to know. I think a lot of wrestling fans or people who've even seen it probably know of that segment. Oh my god! So I got banned. I think getting banned made me want to watch it even more, because it's like, you know, that rebellious child in you, like, damn, I can't watch it. I'm not supposed to, but I'm gonna watch it when I can. So then a year later, I just started watching it like every single week. Monday Night Raw, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday, whatever day fell on, night SmackDown. 2007, 8, and 9 is around the time where I discovered there's other wrestling out there. There was this other company named TNA Impact, and I discovered that on Spike TV. And I knew that it wasn't WWE because there was nobody from WWE on that show. I mean, there's like a couple, like Booker T and Kevin Nash, who I've seen before, but like I knew this was not WWE. And I would, you know, watch that every once in a while. So I kind of watched Raw, SmackDown, and Impact for a bit. 2012 or 11 is when I stopped watching Impact and really only watched Raw and SmackDown. And then fast forward to, I would say, 2015 is when I first discovered like Japanese wrestling. And then 2016 is when I started to get into like independent wrestling and other wrestling out there. And now here I am in 2021, and I watch just about everything. I feel like now I probably would say I watch less wrestling. I don't want to say I watch less wrestling, but not as much as I did maybe like 3 years ago, put it that way. Yeah. But I still very much consider myself like a very, like, you know, hardcore wrestling fan. Like, here I am with this podcast. It was my idea, and I'm sitting here like, yeah, George, you're going to watch this match, you're going to watch this show from this country and this company in this era and this year. So, you know, like, you can't be a hardcore wrestling fan and not know all this shit.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of my story.
Dope.
And over the years, I documented all of my wrestling experiences through this channel, the Tyler-kun Williams channel. So if you guys go back as far as 2015, you'll see reviews of me doing NXT TakeOver Brooklyn and all that kind of stuff. So it's documented. The years prior are not, but 2015 onward is.
Yeah.
But outside of that, so what are your like opinions on professional wrestling, like unbiased, outside of this podcast?
So I'll go with, we'll start from the beginning, and then I guess we'll talk about now. So in the beginning, when I first started watching wrestling, it was like, just like you said, it was cool as hell. And there was a lot of cool things about it. As I got older, I definitely like thought it got a little bit corny. Well, not got. So like, we were talking about this. Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. How with like, you know, the female wrestling has gone like so far from what it used to be. Mm-hmm. Which, you know, before it was like, female wrestlers were there mostly just because they looked good. And it was mostly just like they would call it like calf fights and shit like that. And I thought like
Yeah, bra and panties matches, mud matches, all that shit.
yeah, so I was just kind of like, I was like, all right, that's kind of like a little weird. Especially some of the like storylines they set up for them. Like I remember, I'll never forget this one scene. It was WWE, obviously, and there was this two girls, there's two chicks, and they're standing by the men's bathroom, and like they're arguing about something really stupid, and then she was like, all right, fine, I dare you to kiss the first guy that comes out of this bathroom.
Oh my god, I know what segment you're talking
It
about.
was the guy with the shirt.
That is Mickey James and Victoria. That's from SmackDown.
Yes.
I know what segment
Yes.
you're talking about.
Yes, and then this big guy comes out and he's all oiled up, and she's like, and then that one dude with that shirt, the black dude, and the shirt says "damn" on it.
Oh my god, dude! I know.
And he was just like, "Damn."
I can literally visualize this segment in my head because I know exactly what you're talking about.
I will never forget that scene because it was just so weird. I was like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, that's the type of stuff that like I used to see, and I used to be like, "All right, like." I don't know, maybe like this is kind of like corny or whatever. But other than that, like watching it now and having the mindset, knowing like what it is and knowing that there is like, storylines and seeing that they have progressed past the other storylines is really nice. And I think I do like a lot about wrestling now. Obviously there's still gonna be those corny storylines or this corny that corny acting from time to time, but now it's like I kind of understand that they're doing it for entertainment, they're doing it for the story, and that kind of a lot of people like you were saying last time, like, well, when people figure out it's fake or whatever, like the magic is gone or whatever. But for me, it's like knowing it's fake kind of helps me because now I know it's like. I know it's not all just like corny shit all the time for nothing.
Of course.
At least I know there's like a story behind it, or there's something like some sort of entertainment that's following. So, so yeah, but that's what it is now.
But to elaborate on what you previously said about the magic being gone once you find out it's fake, that applies for, I would say, the vast majority of people because, it's almost like finding out Santa Claus isn't real. I mean, you go your childhood and your parents are like, oh, this fat white man comes down your chimney and gives you presents every single year.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in the dead of winter for, just because he's very generous. And then one year you find out, oh, well, he doesn't exist. It's actually me. And you feel lied to, even though, like, they're your parents and you love them. It's like, damn, I really believe that. So you feel kind of stupid. And then it's like, well, you almost kind of resent it. But then it's like, well, okay, well, you want to. You know that it's fake. You know that Santa is not real, but you don't want to ruin it for other people necessarily. Unless you get to that point where you just don't fucking care, which a lot of people do. But I think the same kind of applies for wrestling, that, growing up, no one really tells you that wrestling is I mean, people aren't supposed to when you're a kid. But because you're a kid, you're not supposed to know the world is, evil and shit yet. But, nobody tells you that wrestling is fake, so you think that, oh my God, these guys are really, hurting each other, which they are. They're really, like, angry at each other. They want to kill each other. And then one day you find that out and you're like, oh, maybe. And you kind of go either two paths. You either you stop watching because it's not real, or two, you keep watching because you know that it's not real and you don't really care because most other things in life are not real. TV is not real. Movies are not real. Like just about everything you watch on TV has some type of production, direction. Like, that's what I kind of don't get about the whole philosophy of, oh, I can't watch wrestling because it's fake. It's like, bro, you do realize that your favorite movie is fake, right? Your favorite TV show, your favorite reality show, Jersey Shore ain't real. You do realize they kind of fake all that, right? Like, that's what I never really understood about that concept. Like, if you want to say that, oh, I want to watch something more real. Okay, there's MMA, there's UFC, there's boxing. If you want to watch people legitimately get hurt, you can watch that. People legitimately get hurt in wrestling. They just don't intentionally try to hurt other people. There's rare occasions where that happens, but that's not part of wrestling. But, like, that's not what wrestling is. It's an art form. It's a form of entertainment. Like, when you watch wrestling, like, at least from my perspective, the way I see it, wrestling's kind of like this blend of mixed martial arts and theater art. where it's like these guys are putting on a performance. They're actually hurting themselves to put on this performance, and I think that's a very respectable art that they're trying to put together. And there's so many different styles, there's so many different variants, and so many different ways to consume it. And that's why I love it so much, is that there's no blank way to consume this product. There's a lot of different countries that have different philosophies and different takes on it, and different like avenues and storylines that you could pursue. It's just so much, and I think it's so awesome. And I feel like a lot of closed-minded people don't see it that way, and that's kind of on them. But for the open-minded people like you and me, there's a certain enjoyment in it. And there's a lot of times where I do not enjoy pro wrestling. I ain't gonna sit here and lie and say that pro wrestling is all sunshine and rainbows, because a lot of times sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's stupid as hell. Sometimes it's dumb. Sometimes you find out shit that's like, damn, why the hell do I watch this shit? But then you find that one great match, that one great storyline, you're like, God damn, I fucking love pro wrestling. And I think that's the beauty of it,
Oh yeah. And like you were saying, like it's very interesting to see how far like a pro wrestler goes just to entertain. So it's definitely,
Exactly. And I think once we get into, and for the people who don't really understand a concept, in which we really didn't explain a concept of the Bots 3 Count podcast. So we're not your typical wrestling podcast. We're not going to hop on here and talk about news and rumors and, oh, where is this guy going? And, oh, what is this guy doing? And, oh, I think this guy should be booked this. We're not going to do all that. What the concept of what we're going to do is that we're going to basically travel. We're going to be watching wrestling from every company, different time periods, different countries, and consume as much as we can and see what we enjoy and what we don't enjoy. Like today, we're going to be talking about AEW Double or Nothing, and next episode, I think we might be talking about New Japan. Next episode, Lucha Underground. Next episode, UK. Like, we're going to be going all over the place. It's not going to be one concrete, we're watching this forever. Maybe it might evolve into that. We don't know what this podcast may evolve into. We don't know what the future holds. But right now, that's what we're doing. I heard some people like, oh, you guys need to watch AEW Dynamite. I'm like, maybe. maybe I'll get him to watch AEW Dynamite. I mean, it's every Friday, so it's not like you have to start today. Like, you could start anytime.
Yeah.
The same applies for like WWE. You don't have to start today. You can start at any time. Which is also the very interesting thing about how we're starting off. Like, usually with wrestling, you start off with WWE, and I'm like, nah, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna start off with AEW. Just to piss people off, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, why would you start them off with AEW? That's not like, no. Because AEW is only 2 years old. AEW started off in 2019, so it's a very new company. But I wanted to start them off with AEW because it's a new type of evolution of pro wrestling. Like, it's kind of a new, I don't want to say a new spin, because they keep a lot of traditions in there, but it's a new way to kind of enjoy it, a different way to enjoy it in a sense. And that's what we're here to talk about now, is the Double or Nothing 2019 show. We're going to briefly talk about it because we watched it 2 weeks ago, and I don't know how much exactly George remembers of that show. Now, I attended this show live 2 years ago when it was in Las Vegas, Nevada. And might I say, I've been to many pro wrestling events. I've been to Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome. I've been to many independent wrestling events. I've been to the Royal Rumble that same year. I've been to SummerSlam. And Double or Nothing 2019, to this very day, is still one of my favorite weekends surrounding a wrestling event. There were people everywhere in Las Vegas. I mean, everywhere. There was a wrestling fan, there was a wrestling personality, there was a podcaster, there was a newsletter, there was something to do in Vegas. And even if you didn't want to do wrestling, guess what? You're in Las Vegas. Food, drinks, bars, clubs, escape rooms everywhere. Like, it was just such a fun weekend. I met one of my best friends that weekend as well. Oh my god, man. And then it all builds up to this first show, because we kind of had the feeling that this show was coming, because in 2018 there was a show called All Out, which was, hosted by Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, and they're like, we're going to construct this show and we're going to make it like the biggest independent wrestling show that there is. And they did just that. They sold out a arena of like 10,000 people in Chicago, and that kind of evolved into, hey, let's start up this company called All Elite Wrestling, which was birthed on January 1st, 2019. And the months leading into May was just, hey, we signed this guy, we're doing this press conference, we're doing this match, and it was so well built up because it's like we don't really know what to expect. We have a preconceived notion, but we don't know what we're going to get. So all that built up to this show, and I thought it was a damn great show when I was there. Now, watching it back for the very first time, because mind you, I've seen individual matches back since I've been there, but I have not seen this entire show in its entirety since I've been there. And I could say, watching it back, it was still a great show. I think that it's no longer like my favorite show AEW's ever done, but it's definitely still a great show. How did you perceive the 2019 Double or Nothing? Not the one we just watched, but the 2019 one.
Yeah, I liked it. It was dope. I did notice some. I think I mentioned yesterday. Definitely some production things that were very different between 2019 and 2020. But like you were saying before, it was the first show, so obviously, But as for 2019, like I think they had some pretty big fights in there. I think they had some pretty interesting fights.
Okay,
especially,
so let's briefly go down this card real quick. So starting off with the battle royale, the casino battle royale. Do you remember much from that match?
I remember that's the 2019 one.
Yes.
Adam Page, right?
Yes, Hangman Page.
Yeah. I remember the biggest part I remember is him coming out and just fucking smacking everyone in the ring, just going batshit, and then all of a sudden just coming out on top. So that was pretty dope. I remember it also being like chaotic, as in everyone. I noticed like everyone was like running out at the same time in the beginning, and just immediately started fighting, and then even like later on when they're announcing people, they're just like running towards the ring like tunnel vision.
Oh yeah, seeing this battle royal and seeing the 2021 run, like oh my god, this was kind of all over the place. Yeah,
and I didn't like, and that's the thing. It's funny because I didn't realize it. Like I noticed it watching it, but I didn't really notice it until you showed me this one. I was like, wow. I was like, that makes such a difference. But
you can tell it's their first try, right? It was definitely their first rodeo.
Oh yeah, it was so funny because like 4 people come out at a time, and they're like already pissed at each other, fighting down the fucking what do you call it, the ramp. And that's as they're announcing each one of them and trying to get the next like cards out, and that was pretty funny. But it was still a good fight. There was still some good fighting in there, aside from the production, errors and stuff like that.
Yeah, my experience for the battle royal. Well, the thing about me and you having experience is that I got to see the build up to this show, so it was very exciting for me. The first run, seeing all the promos, like okay, this guy's going in. This is his story. AEW does a very They did a phenomenal job building up just about everybody for this match. Everybody had a story. So for you, it didn't hit as much because you didn't know anybody going into the show, but for me, it did. Yeah. So I thought this match was just like tremendous in a certain way. And now watching it back, I was like, yeah, it is a bit all over the place. You could tell they didn't exactly know how to structure this out, right? Like I remember there being periods of time. I remember being in the arena, and I think it was during the second drawing where they did the countdown, and then the buzzer went off, and then for like a solid minute, nothing happened. Nobody came out. It was like this complete nothingness, and I'm like, huh? Did they forget? And then like, oh, here come the spades, and I'm like, that's weird. And then they're all coming out, and then there was another draw where people were getting attacked during it, and they're announcing names. And that's also why it was so confusing, because they were announcing names and everybody was coming out at the same time. So it's like, if you don't know any of these people, how do you know who any of them are? You're led to assume who is who, and that just did not work. Which is why I like the 2021 one so much, because they had separate entrances. So you know individually who is who. It was structured almost like a Royal Rumble, which... Have you seen a Royal Rumble before? Probably like back when you were younger, you probably seen one.
What is it called?
The Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen a couple of them from like way back.
Yeah, the second one was structured more like a Royal Rumble, where they had separate entrances. This one, they all came out at the same time, but just did not work. But that was on a pre-show. Heyman Page won that match, which... Ah man, he's come so far from that. He's come so far. And the second match on the pre-show was Kip Sabian versus Sammy Guevara. Do you remember anything from that match?
Which one? It was
Kip Sabian, the guy with the panda head.
Yeah. Little by little. It wasn't like, I don't think I remember too much. I definitely remember what do you call it? Britt Baker, that one. The doctor.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember that fight. I remember the best friends fight. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to go back and remember. Sammy.
We'll go one by one. We'll go one by one. If you don't remember this match, that's fine. Because I my first experience being there in the arena. I think I told you we were watching it live. Is that I had to take a shit really badly during the Battle Royal, but I didn't want to miss any of it. So when it ended, I rushed to the bathroom and I missed this entire match. I remember being in a bathroom and going on my phone to watch the match, but because I was in the arena, the connection was shitty. So shitty taking a shit. So it was like really, oh my god, it was like really bad. So I didn't get to see like any of the match. So this is my first time actually seeing the match back, and I was like, okay, it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah,
Kip Sabian won.
Okay.
Just seeing Sammy Guevara then and seeing Sammy Guevara now is really funny. Like I'm glad he didn't keep the panda head gimmick. I'm glad he went and yeah.
Oh, okay. I think
Sammy Guevara is the one who won the Stadium Stampede match.
Yeah, I know that. I was trying to remember the panda head. I think it just
might be drawn to blur.
Yeah.
It's cool. So then you got into the main show, and we start off with a 6-man tag team match. It was SCU, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky versus the Strong Hearts, Shima, T-Hawk, and El Lindaman, which was the Oriental side. Do you remember much from that match?
Yeah, I remember a little bit from it. The biggest one was, again, I think the one with the I keep forgetting what the Japanese women's wrestling is called.
Well, they're called Joshis. The men's side is just like, male wrestlers. There's no specific name for them.
Yeah. So I don't remember too much of those matches. I remember the biggest thing, again, like I was saying about those ones, I think were just like mostly towards like the middle and end, like type deal. I remember some of that match though. Again.
It was a hot opener. I remember like the Strong Hearts having like all the speed and agility. I remember you being very impressed by El Lindaman, which was the guy with like just wearing boots and like trunks. He was practically naked. Yeah. Which he was like the best part of the match for me too.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed it. SCU won that match. And then we got into the Fatal 4-Way, which was originally a triple threat between Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Kylie Ray. And then Brandy Rose came out. She's like, I want to make this match awesome. And then she entered in Awesome Kong and made a Fatal 4-Way. Now, you said you remember this match somewhat. What did you remember from
that match? Yeah. When that, when like, what's her name? Awesome Kong. Yeah. I remember when she fucking walked out. And that immediate thought was like just absolute unit. And I was just like, oh my god. Shit's about to get real. I was like, shit's about to get real. I was like, the men just stepped off, the women are coming in, shit's about to go real. So that definitely was a cool fight. And it was and like I think I mentioned this before. Britt Baker, her like, I like her style. It's cool cuz like I think I watched a couple fights with her, like a new one and that one, and you were asking me about her, and it's like because you were like, who do you think's gonna win? And I put my money on her because it was like she seems like one of those wrestlers, that even though she's like seems like a pretty big shot, it feels like from the fighting I saw, and again I've only saw like 2 or 3 fights from her, but for the fights I've saw, she always puts her money where her mouth is, so type deal. So whatever she says, she better do. And she not necessarily serious. I don't know how to like explain the actual like style that I'm trying to, I guess, describe here.
I guess you would say all-rounded.
Yeah. So for the most part, like I definitely liked it. It was dope.
I remember when Kylie Ray came out, you were like, man, she's very happy, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. She was that's Smiley chick,
yeah,
right?
Smiley Kylie.
Yeah, Smiley Kylie. Yeah. Okay, yeah. She's her character is funny. So again, like they had that whole thing in the beginning. I think it was with the skit that they did, and then with the two librarians shishing each other.
Yeah.
And I remember I was so fucking confused, and I was like, I wasn't gonna say anything, and all of a sudden I was just like, it just kept going, and I was like, all right, what the hell is this? And you were like, yeah, yeah. Everyone in the stadium was very confused.
Oh yeah, I didn't
So
understand that. Nobody understood it.
yeah, so it was kind of weird as hell. But once she got in, I really liked how her smile progressed into more of like this like whole rabid look where she was kind of going insane and got angry because that's what happens in the fight when you're smiling and then you just start getting beat to shit. You get angry.
The smile disappears all of a
So,
sudden.
so her character was definitely different, but it was pretty cool.
All right, you kind of neglected Nyla Rose. Is it because she didn't impress you in that match?
No, 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 no. So I don't want to say nobody impressed me. I think like all of it was dope. Nyla Rose was the, what do you call it? The chick who looked like Wonder Woman practically, right?
Yes.
So she was pretty big too. And by big, obviously I don't mean like, anything in offense. She was like pretty tough. And I didn't notice like I don't remember anything too crazy, like too many crazy feats other than like, again, like she was, how big some of these like women are, or like even men, like it's just crazy to kind of like see them still being able to like move and fly all around the ring and like just do what they do. So
I think
it's all definitely impressive.
I don't want to say my issue with the match, but I think the one thing that I can say probably drowned out in this match was that originally it was a triple threat with those three women, and when they added Awesome Kong, I feel like you had two big women in there, and because Awesome Kong is like, she's been wrestling for so long, it really drowned Nyla Rose out of the match, and I feel like it really didn't do her any justice.
Yeah, that's what kind of it did. That's how it kind of like happened, to be honest. And it wasn't like bad, but I definitely did notice. That because when you have a like you were saying, like it being a triple threat and then you add someone else in, like I feel like it definitely does take some like of that attention off of the main, or like either one or a couple of the main like wrestlers, the core wrestlers that are supposed to be there.
Unless you're Kenny Pack and Orange Cassidy, then you structure your match right.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that when we get to 2021.
All right, but yeah, other than that, it was definitely a nice match.
All right, so Britt Baker won that match, which is funny considering the 2021 result. Well, not funny, but ironic. So then after that, it was a tag team match, the Best Friend versus Angelico and Jack Evans. Do you remember much from that match?
Yeah, man. How could I forget that hug?
Yes, the hug.
It was such a heartfelt hug.
And they built up to it, too, because the first time they got stopped. And then the second time,
the
it was like,
first time they got stopped. Everyone's like, boo! It was dope. It was dope. I like it. I like that whole concept. Like, so my favorite fights in the past used to be tag teams. Even in the games, I love tag teams for some reason. And like now watching tag teams and definitely seeing there's more than just fighting. It's more than just like two people in a ring or four people. Like there's a whole storyline behind them. I really like the direction of the whole, like they all like kind of play off each other type deal.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So like how the Best Friends, like you were saying, like they don't like end a match without a hug, or like they don't start a match without a hug, and like they walk out there, they're practically fucking holding hands, and it's like dope as hell. And it's it has that cute storyline or whatever.
That is what we call chemistry.
Yeah, and it's cool. So and then you see like people like the fucking Young Bucks, and like they have their own personality and their whole thing going on, and like their own like chemistry, like you're saying. So I definitely like how each tag team has their own backstory or has their own falling out.
Yeah.
And then like we saw, like I think it was yesterday. Who was it? You said they used to be a tag team, and then they like broke apart. They're fighting yesterday.
Eddie Kingston and John Moxley.
Yes, that fight was crazy. So I think it's really cool how like, they have those like falling out stories, and then like we saw like, his crew came out and was trying to be like, hit him with the belt, hit him with the belt, but he was like, he's trying to keep it clean, and it's because they have that history with each other.
Yeah.
So I thought that was definitely dope as hell. So
I remember during the match, I was cringing a bit whenever Jack Evans would take a move, because he would always and I taught you what the word sell means. He would always oversell it. Like he would just like someone do a clothesline, he would do like 3 rotations. I'm like, bro, calm down. And I remember you were kind of like during the match too. You're like, all right, dude, you're doing too much.
Yeah, a couple things here and there I noticed with like overselling, but other than that,
Exactly. We got to see the best friends hug, and they won the match, so that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then after that was the 6-woman tag, the 6 Joshi tag. It was Hikaru Shida, Riho and Ryo Mizunami versus Aja Kong, Emi Sakura, and Yuka Sakazaki. Now, I'm not expecting you to remember who was who, but do you remember much about this match?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember a lot. So, again, like you said, I don't remember who exactly each person was, but I do remember that it was fucking crazy because the hits that they were taking and like that they had to kind of pull off, and the moves they had to pull off, again, like there was a lot of times where these were like, they're being slammed into a lot of things, and they're being hit, with a lot of different with a lot of different punches or a lot of different moves.
Oh yeah, this is technically your first exposure to any Japanese wrestling, was this match.
Yeah, and I did notice like those girls are crazy. Those girls are crazy. They take a lot of hits, and I know like you could make the whole argument, oh, they're women different weight class, but like it doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly.
No, a hit's a hit. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how you take it or how heavy they are. You're still being slammed into that mat. You're still being thrown off of that, ring. You're still, so for the most part, I definitely thought they were hardcore. So they definitely, I thought, fought to the fullest, and that was pretty cool. So, but other than that, I do remember this one thing about the fight, and I think we have to mention it, obviously, which was the sneak count, obviously, and that was me just getting back into wrestling was the most confusing thing I've watched. It was I forget who was pinning.
I think it was Shida pinning Emi.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like, I think he basically barely hit the mat, and then like he brought his hand up and said 2, and then the bell went off.
The bell rung and the theme started playing. You're like, oh no.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what? And then for a second you stopped and you're like, oh my god, they actually played the wrong theme song. So they ended up giving like, which again I didn't notice because I wouldn't have known this.
Yeah, I only noticed it because of my second time, because I'm like, wait a minute, the person who actually won, they played her theme song. I'm like, oh my god, they telegraphed the winner by accident, because then she won a minute later. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. So it was one of those things. But other than that, I think that fight was dope. I think that fight was really fucking cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed that match too. Shida, Riho, and Ryo Mizunami won that match, and they're all busy doing things in AEW now, so good for them. Not Ryo Mizunami, but Riho and Hikaru Shida. We're gonna talk about them on the second show. Yeah. So then the last 3 were the key matches. I'm sure you remember these ones pretty fondly. Cody versus Dustin Rhodes.
Yes, sir. That match was I don't know, man. That match was scary.
Scary?
It wasn't scary. All right. It was crazy because we were just talking about this, how far a wrestler goes for entertainment, and I think that match isn't not just that match, but definitely that match is one of those matches that shows you how far they would go. And you definitely like you see everything unfolding. I guess not unfolding, but you so here let me start from the beginning. So obviously you have these 2 brothers fighting, which already the storyline is going to be like pretty intense. And then by the end of it, I remember, or not by the end of it, by like mid-fight, I remember Cody takes Dustin and shoves him in a corner, and then pulls off the I think it was the cushion for
The ring post.
for the ring post, and he just bashes his head into it. And at first, nothing too much is going on, and then Dustin's on the floor and whatnot, and comes back up, and all of a sudden he has this like bloody forehead out of no, it just crazy blood spilling out of his head, and then you see him get back into the ring, and they just keep going, and it's not just a crazy amount of like. So we watched a match yesterday where there was some blood because he threw an aerosol can at his head. No, it wasn't that.
It was a lot
crazy
of
amounts of blood. Okay, it was like if someone turned on a faucet and it started just squirting out, because that's what it was. Every time he got slammed, every time he was standing up, dude, every time he pushed to do something, it would just start spurting.
Dude, I remember the one shot when Cody has him in a sharpshooter, and the camera zooms in, and his face is just literally covered in blood. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That was just one of those matches where I was just like, fuck, dude. Like, so now, like, that's how far they go, and they just keep going. They just keep going, and they're like, we can't break act. We can't, like, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's fake, but do you fucking see this? Like, are your eyes open right now?
Yeah,
like,
that's not
fucking
fake
ridiculous.
blood. That was definitely pouring out of his head when he was leaning down.
Yeah, 100%. So I mean, there was a couple shots where he was just like struggling and actually pushing, and you can see like just the blood spurting get more intense, and it was just like, okay, all right, this guy needs help. But at the end, like by the end of the match, Dustin ends up losing, and Cody comes back, and he's like, I need my brother. And that was pretty cool. They come back, trying to come back for a tag team event.
Yeah.
So, but that fight was intense as fuck. I will say that.
Yeah, it was my favorite match on the show, and I very much still love that match. It's one of my favorite matches AEW's ever put on. But Cody won that match. And at the time, I actually liked Cody.
Yeah.
Can't say the same now. But then we got into the co-main event. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Lucha Brothers, Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. What did you think about this match?
So, I think this was, again, the first impression I've had on, like, the Young Bucks and everybody.
Oh, yeah, because you saw they're almost completely different people in 2021.
Yeah. It was literally night and day, first off. I'd like to say that. It wasn't they're different people. It was, like, completely fucking different. Because you go from, like, again, like, these people, like, Young Bucks, you're thinking like, Western or something like that, and they come out, obviously, and, they don't look horrible, they got their fit, they're coming out there and they're doing their whole thing, and then all of a sudden, like, this year, I see this fight, and it's like, what the fuck? What are they doing?
Wearing?
Like, what are they wearing? like a whole scene out of Nickelodeon, like, I don't know, man. But other than that, I think, again, I think this fight was pretty cool too. I got to see what the Young Bucks really brought to, I guess, the fight. And seeing the Lucha Brothers was different also. They were both like, again, I think I saw a lot of things I just didn't expect to see. And it was mostly going to be like, just everyone's acrobatic as fuck, first off. I think when I first started watching wrestling, they still had like people like Rey Mysterio and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the people like Kane and Undertaker, and there was a couple other people out there.
Yeah, your powerhouses.
They're all big guys that I used to watch. I mean, they're all guys who just obviously, like you said, they're powerhouses. They don't jump around the mat like the ring too often. It was mostly just running and either like taking the guy out or just heavy hits and submissions. So for the most part, like seeing, the Young Bucks and seeing like the Lucha Brothers and seeing like all the Japanese wrestlers and whatnot, like it was just cool seeing everyone just flying around the ring and like doing different kinds of like. First off, I really liked I don't know how I like it and I don't like it at the same time, right? But a lot of the finishers, a lot of the old finishers were brought back and like remixed.
Yeah.
I definitely noticed that. It is cool. It is cool as hell to see them, especially how they do the. I guess what do they call their tombstone? The original
Meltzer
tombstone
driver.
again? Yeah, and that's with both of them,
Yeah.
right? It's a combo move, and it's obviously tombstone. It just takes it to the whole different level with having the second person jump off the belt and come down on one guy. So I think that's definitely like a different take on it, and it's pretty unique. And I thought it was just fun to see like older moves come back into play. But a lot of super kicks. But yeah,
A lot of super kicks. That's the
a lot
Young
of
Bucks.
super kicks.
The super kicks.
Yeah, a lot of super kicks. But yeah, other than that, again, I don't think there was like a moment where I was just kind of like ew.
You get
Like
bored.
yeah. So these fights they all had something going on, and I think that was cool. That was the coolest part about like, I don't want to say the coolest part, but like, obviously, again, there were some production like errors here and there, but I think the fights were able to bring it back.
Yeah.
So.
And that was one of my favorite tag team matches AEW's put on as well. And that was my first time seeing it back, and I'm like, yeah, it was definitely really good. My thing about the Young Bucks matches, and I've said this before, and you're a newer fan, so you don't really understand this kind of stuff, is that for a lot of Young Bucks main event matches, is that they tend to have a lot of kickouts in their match, like a lot of false kickouts, like spots that you think would be the end of the match, it's not, and then they keep going, and then it's like, oh. And then it's still going. I'm like, and then it's still going. I'm like, okay, well, when you're not like annoyed, but you're like, okay, that could have ended the match. So what's the ending going to be? And I feel like that's kind of a nitpick I have with the Young Bucks, but that's something you gain once you watch wrestling for a long time.
Yeah, I understand that. It'll be like one of those things where it's like, this would be an amazing move to end off on, but it didn't. So what are they gonna do now?
Exactly, but
it'll usually end in something like mediocre. Like it goes from like this big finisher that like knocks him loose, and all of a sudden just no kick out. Sorry, not no kick out, no pin, and then all of a sudden like there'll just be like a gut punch that ends it.
It's like, what the fuck?
He's like, oh, all right, well, all right.
But the Young Bucks took the dub in that match, and then we got to the main event. Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega. And I'm not going to lie, I was a bit worried about, because I'm like, so far, there's been a lot of high action in this show, and I know this match is not that. But I thought you ended up enjoying the match.
I did. That was my first match seeing
Kenny Omega.
And then obviously I know who Jericho is, so it was cool seeing an old face. But Kenny Omega's lit. Kenny Omega's pretty lit. I think I mentioned this 100 times over, and I'll probably mention it 100 times over again throughout the podcast. But he's one of those wrestlers where over time, like in a match, it's not just fighting. He tries to get down. It's not just like the moves or the choreography. It's mostly you see it in his face and you see it in his like actions, and he does that thing really well where. He comes in and he's like, obviously like he's got I don't want to say an attitude, but and each wrestler has their own like complex going on.
Gimmick.
So he walks out having that
gimmick.
Yeah. So he has his own thing going on, coming out, and he's pretty cool, level-headed. And then all of a sudden when the fight starts, like you see that level-headedness go to like psychotic from that face, and like not only that, but you see them start like using, not necessarily, I don't want to say well with Kenny I guess so, because his actions do get a little more chaotic, like not chaotic because obviously a lot of his moves are very, very clean, but you can see him like resorting to like different things like throughout the match,
and I think it's a great dynamic because on this show, Kenny Omega was the good guy, but then in the 2021, he was the bad guy. So you got to see both sides of what he was like, at least in America.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's definitely cool to see his acting, like especially being on point. But that was a pretty cool fight. Like you were saying, it's not like It's not like it was like too crazy, but again, I think they both made it work very well.
Yeah, it was a great well-rounded fight. And like I told you before, this was their second match. The first match they had was in Japan, and I think a lot of wrestling fans will say their first match was way better. But this match still was very good. So Chris Jericho won that match, by the way. So that was Double or Nothing 2019. Overall, you liked the show, right? What would you rate it out of 10?
I think this one, so I'm not gonna count any. Not all right. We're just gonna do just the fights, okay? we're not gonna count any production or anything like that. And I think it was pretty solid. It's got to be like, because I don't think there was really a moment where like I was just like, this sucks. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna be around like an 8 to a 9, like an 8. I want to say. I liked it. It was cool. It was cool seeing, the first show, and it was cool seeing how they like took care of everything. There was obviously a lot that went wrong, but if I included those, and if I actually knew wrestling, like if I was versed with like everything, I'd probably give it a lower rating just because like, a couple things. But other than that, like, I'm someone who just started, who said just started back up again. Yeah. And I think it really did impress me, especially it being their first show, and the fights being like that. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I knew coming out of that show I was on a high, so I probably would give that show a fucking 10. Watching it back,
yeah,
I probably would go 8 as well. I would have to knock it down some because I did enjoy it. I don't think like I said, you're riding a high when you're there, so you get to take a step back and actually look at it from a neutral standpoint when you're at home, especially after it's taken place like years ago. So I could be a date. But now let's talk about what people all have been waiting for. Let's talk about 2021 Double or Nothing, because I know a lot of people want to know what you thought about that show. There were a lot of people who watched the live stream and they're like, damn, I really want to hear what that guy has to say about it. So we kept them waiting for about an hour now. Let's talk about 2021.
Yeah. 2021 was dope.
Did you like that more than the 2019 show?
I will say, with production and everything, with production and everything, like, they made it run a lot smoother. It was huge differences, especially when it came to the casino battle royale. They were able to just, it just felt more organized. Like, the match did start a little slower, but it was worth it because you were actually able to see everyone get out. And then obviously the first couple matches with who was it? It was with Britt. It was with Serena.
See, we're talking about that first. That's on the pre-show. It was Serena Deeb versus Riho.
Oh, yeah, that show. That was a pre-show. You said?
Yes, it's called The Buy-In in AEW.
Okay. So that. Honestly, that was a pretty good show to start with because it's and we're gonna go back to the whole Kenny thing where her fight was definitely interesting. There wasn't too much like high flying action. There wasn't too much like flair. I guess
it was very grounded.
Yeah, it was very grounded, and the way I guess Serena and what's the other lady's name again? Riho, yeah. So both of them, like, first off, Riho, amazing fighter. I feel like we were saying, like, with Japanese fighters, like, they're very, very like agile, and a lot of their moves like are very fucking cool. Although they're small, like they're able to like pull them off in a way where it looks really, really impressive, and that's I think hard to do. Because a lot of wrestlers will try to pull off like some moves and it comes off as like, was that what it was supposed to be?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So she was able to pull a lot of those off, and even the moves were like halfway through she realized like this is too short or this is too long or this is she fixed it. She fixed it and she made it work, and it was dope. And then Serena on top of that,
we're gonna talk about the whole like level-headed to like kind of psychotic where not only was she like she comes in and she's like this fighter with an ego kind of deal, but she basically throughout the fight it's like she says it's like cool, and then all of a sudden she starts getting angry and she starts resorting to different moves, and you see her like making those decisions and kind of progressing towards
and
them.
when you think about it from a deep storytelling standpoint, I think it kind of makes sense for why she was so aggressive and so like angsty, because it's like Serena Deeb in a way is a veteran. She's been wrestling for like a very long time, but Riho technically is a veteran as well because she's been wrestling since she was way younger. She's wrestling at 8 years old. Yeah. So it's like there's two vets in the ring, but Serena's older. So it's like, well, you're not a veteran because I'm older than you. So it's kind of teaching her a lesson in a way.
Yeah, yeah. So it was definitely cool. It was definitely a cool fight, and I guess like you said, how everything played out, like they pulled it off really nice. They pulled it off really nice.
Yes, I really love the finish where Serena Deeb just kind of rams her knee against the mat and then bends it all the way to make her touch her head, and she taps out.
Yes, what the hell, dude? That was crazy.
Yeah, Serena Deeb's the fucking truth.
Oh my god, and I really like I think we talked about this before, but how they start focusing their attacks through the match on like to hit certain parts of the body, like, and with that match it was obviously her knees. And her knees were, oh my god, demolished. So but
had no choice.
After that match, I could imagine a couple ice packs after that match,
Exactly.
But yeah, it's definitely a good match.
Definitely one of the better matches of the entire show, honestly, in my opinion. But Serena Deeb did retain her title, so I can't wait to see her retain again, because she's the truth. I'm waiting for Serena Deeb versus Kenny Omega. That's the match I'm waiting for. Anyway.
That will happen?
No, it won't. But in my head, I was like, wait,
what? Dude, I got excited for a bit there. Come on, man. I was like, wait a minute.
I would love that match to happen, but it won't, because AEW doesn't do intergender matches, sadly. But then we got to the main show, and we saw these matches yesterday, so these should be fresh in your head. And the opening match was Hangman Page versus Brian Cage, so you get to see him and Page again 2 years later. Was there any evolutionary things you noticed to Hangman Page here? Or was he kind of the same? Because you didn't see his story, and I explained this to you yesterday that Hangman Page's story in 2020 made him my favorite, but you didn't see any of that, so it's like you kind of don't know why I love him so much.
Yeah, there's gonna be that I guess blank spot in between, and for the most part when I saw him walk in, there wasn't a difference, because so when the first time I saw him was really when he like ran into the casino battle royale and just started beating the shit out of people. And I'm gonna be honest with you, he ran into the fucking ring and just started beating shit at it. Like he just went in, and I started laughing at that because I think like, that's like, it's basically his thing. Like he just goes, I don't want to say like batshit, but like he just goes in immediately. Yeah. And I thought that was pretty cool, because when a lot of wrestlers, you'll see that happen in the beginning of the match where they try to go in immediately and it works flat, or it doesn't work. Like it'll, like you said, it'll fall flat. Like something will happen and then it'll just be like, all right, well the other wrestler's just gonna beat your ass now. but with this one, like he really he took a couple hits and then like a couple more and then a couple more, and like he was actually landing them. So it was doing something, and it wasn't just for nothing. So most of that fight, like I really liked, again, like a lot of that fight, they weren't just doing moves for nothing. It wasn't just like moves that wouldn't necessarily progress the fight. It was something where there were hits that actually mattered, and I'm pretty sure this is the match where he threw him into the post,
he threw him into the post.
Yeah,
that's very
like
early on.
Like, shit, oh my god, yeah, shit like that, like and that's what I was talking about. It was early on, but it's progressing the fight. Like holy shit, like as they're going, like they're actually showing like they want to do damage to each other instead of just like trying to show off certain moves or do whatever. For the most part, it was pretty raw. It was nice. I liked it. So when he threw him into the post, dude, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I remember the first thought being like, no way, like he just did that seriously. And then like they showed the replay and like the angle, dude. I was like, he threw him right into the corner of that post. I was like, I was like, he got thrown, like he didn't just get.
Yeah,
like,
no, you can't fake that.
So that was.
You can't fake that.
No. So when he hit the post and then you see him hit the ground afterwards, it's like, damn, like, you know, these guys are taking big hits. Like this is crazy. So that fight, you know, definitely I like seeing like I don't know if technically, well, like what do you call them, hoss fight
Hoss
or
fights.
the big guys, right?
Hoss fights.
Yeah, I don't know if
technically it wouldn't be because Hangman Page is not a Hoss guy.
Yeah.
Brian Cage is, but not Hangman Page.
Yeah, that's what. So I was about to say, like, technically, I don't know if it's like, you know, is or not, but I definitely know, like, seeing like the bigger guys like just, you know, just fight like that, like
it was a very traditional wrestling match. Two big guys going at.
Yeah. So they and it felt like the matches like I don't want to say the matches I was used to seeing because obviously I didn't watch it like as much even like back then, even though I watched it, but it was like a lot of like the matches that I used to like seeing a lot, especially with like, you know, with them just, you know, like you said, it's just traditional, you know, wrestling, and like they were just going in. So it was really cool. It was
and you
cool,
got to see your first bit of story progression. You got to see his goons, Brian Cage's partners, try to come out and help him. And you kind of explained this earlier. And he kind of threw the belt back, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then he ended up losing because he got distracted by his own team.
Yeah. And I thought at the end, too, when he got pissed, dude, I thought he was going to try to tear him to shreds. I was like, please do it. I was like, please do it. They lost you the match. Please do it. So, and one of the things where I was so surprised. Well, not surprised, all right? It's, you know, I shouldn't be too surprised. But the commentators, like, how much they got into that fight, like, that was fucking crazy. Like, they're like, you know, telling him to take the belt and just smack him, and like, oh, you're losing, take the belt. Oh, he's fucking crazy. Why didn't he take the belt? I was like, you know, these commentators are going off, man. I was like, they're going off. So
very vital part. But Hangman Page,
definitely.
He won the match. He got the dub. I'm happy. We got to see Hangman Page.
Oh yeah.
He's gonna win, and he's gonna go after Kenny Omega next, hopefully. The next match is the Young Bucks versus Jon Moxley to Kingston for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Now, this is now the second time you've seen the Young Bucks.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, night and day. It's like before they come out, you know, with their fit and everything like that, and you know they're the Young Bucks. That's what it's just what you would expect from the name.
Yeah,
I guess. And then all of a sudden, the Young Bucks come out and like they're wearing Nikes and they're wearing a bunch of different like, I don't even
orange
know.
and purple, white, blue.
Yeah, it was just crazy. Like, and again, like, you know, at that point, it's like, you know, that's them. That's who they're trying to be, which is all fine and whatnot. But it is much. It's
a lot.
It does get
and
to
I was saying that yesterday, and I'm like, you know, I'm supposed to hate them, so I guess they're doing a good job, but goddamn, they're a fucking eyesore to look at. Like, it's so, it gets on my nerves just how much is going on with what they're wearing.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
So it's definitely, and it's funny because it does take away from like, I don't want to say it takes away a lot from fighting, because obviously throughout the fight, their clothes get torn to shreds anyway, like it'll get ripped off. But, you know, in the beginning of this fight, you're watching like just these multicolored, like, I don't even know, just run through the ring. Or I thought it was really funny that they started like immediately just getting like beat up. I was just like so happy by that. And then by the end of it, you know, they were able to bring it back, sort of deal. And then there was that one part, I think I was talking about this with the aerosol can. I think this was this fight where he pegged it at his head. I was like, wow. I was like, he really fucking pegged that thing. I didn't think he hit him that hard with the can. I was like, that can made him bleed. So I was like, what the fuck? So it was just really like, it was a nice fight.
Well, I gotta ask, what were your thoughts on the opposing team? Because this is technically the second time you've seen Jon Moxley. Now, you saw Jon Moxley at the 2019 Double or Nothing, but he appeared at the very, very end of the show.
Yeah.
He's the one who attacked Kenny Omega, and then Eddie Kingston was his partner.
Yeah, yeah. They were pretty lit. I will say so to myself. Those guys, they had this expression, they had this whole thing that they carried with themselves, and it felt like it was the whole.
It was a
like,
badass aura.
The whole, yeah, it was like the whole badass tank like thing where, and I remember there was one time where he was trying to tag out, and then what's his name again?
Eddie Kingston?
I think so, the bald one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Egghead, that's what we'll call him.
Egghead? Oh my god.
Dude, it's so funny when I saw him. He looks like a cartoon character when he like is in the ring. But when I remember when he was trying to tag him in, and finally he got him, and then again he got into the ring, and they started like I forget what it was. He just started going off, and he put one of them into submission, and then they start knocking him in the head, and he just looks over at him, and I was just like, yes,
just looks like,
please,
what the fuck?
yes. Yeah, that was like that's like my favorite part, when like the smaller dude starts like trying to beat the fuck out of like the bigger dude, and then all of a sudden they just look over and they're like, "You okay?
You good?
It's like, you good? You good? All right, you done? All right, let me put him down. I'm coming." So I really enjoy
one of the
that.
key details is that in the feud they stole the Young Bucks shoes and socks, and in this match they brought the shoes with them to the ring, and then at one point they had to use the shoes, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, so the shoes are definitely different. I remember, so I wish I would have seen that fight because I would have lost my shit. But we saw the recap of him taking their shoes, and I was just like, in my head, I was just like, good. I was like, you don't wear Nikes to a wrestling match. I was like, good, take his shoes. But yeah, it was definitely cool. I like that fight.
Yeah, the Young Bucks retain the World Tag Team Championships, which I was disappointed by. I wanted Moxley Kingston to win really badly.
When they won, I had a feeling like towards the end of the fight, I was like, shit. I was like, they're gonna get it, aren't they? And they won, and they got to walk off, walk out of the ring with a somewhat of a smile. But I was in my head, I was just like, damn, like they should just get the shit beat out of them.
All right.
I was like, they need to lose.
So
that,
I guess I should have asked earlier,
belt.
but like your takeaway from this, like which person or team impressed you the most? Who would you like to see more coming out of this?
I would say, honestly, I was impressed with a lot of them. And it's kind of like that thought where I was more impressed than I thought I would have been. So it's hard to say who I would like to see, I guess.
I mean, you could say all of them
coming out again.
That you impressed by all of them.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, they all did impress me. Like, coming into wrestling, my whole main thing was I was like, all right, it's gonna be okay, type deal. Like, we're gonna see some things here and there, and like, I think I'll know what to expect. But again, it was different. Like, coming into it, a lot of the tag teams are different. The way they carry themselves, the way they fight, and I guess the way they handle like progression throughout the fights. And I really enjoyed what all of them had to kind of bring to the table. So I wouldn't mind seeing a lot of them come back and like, doing more tag team matches, or just, doing more single matches. Like, they were all like, again, very impressive from what I saw. And how do I say, like, it topped the bar more than I would have thought it would have. You know what I mean? So that was the interesting part.
Yeah, so then we hop into the Casino Battle Royale. So this is now your second casino, the latter one. And you said you enjoyed this one way more than the first one.
Yes, because I was able to tell who was who. Biggest part, they were able to announce. I think the last time I only knew who the Joker was, and that was because they were only announcing one name while he was running out. So this time around, we were able to see like everyone one by one come out. We were able to see like the fight without 15 people in the ring at the same time. So, because last time, like, they were all throwing their hands, like nobody knew where to go with it, so it was just very chaotic. I will say, and I know we're gonna hit this topic anyway, but we're gonna talk about Hardy.
Matt Hardy.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that they put him in there. I had no fucking clue that they were gonna put him in there. I didn't even know he was still wrestling. So it was just really funny when they threw him in there, and like immediately as soon as you see him, first off, I think he got knocked out like in the first couple seconds of walking out. So that was a thing, and then as the match progresses, there's this one, and it's very subtle, but you'll catch it. I think it was a cue. I'm not sure, but the commentator goes, where's Matt Hardy in all of this? And then the immediate thought is, oh, what the fuck? Wait a minute, yeah. And then all of a sudden you see him like, oh shit, yeah, get up in the corner. So it was almost as if like the commentator said something, and then all of a sudden he remembered that he was fighting, and he was like, oh fuck, let me get up now. So I thought that was like really, really funny. But other than that, throughout the match, like, first off, he should have been taken out a little earlier, I think.
You think so?
But other than that, I think so. Each of his eliminations were bullshit, okay? He was the guy that got beat up, then forgot about, and then when it was time, he snuck behind two people and then pushed them. And then one of them got eliminated, you know what I'm saying? That type of deal. So, it was one of those things where I was like, all right, like, you know, he got one. All right, now eliminate him. Okay, no, you forgot about him. All right, there's a better fight going on. All right, and then all of a sudden, like, that fight is getting so intense, and then fucking Hardy comes out of nowhere and just pushes them out. What? What? And then all of a sudden, like, they start beating up Hardy again, and then they forget about him, and another fight happens, and it gets so intense, and he gets away with it a third time, and I'm like, all right. I was like, something needs to happen here. So, by the end of the match, when he was making a deal
Christian
with, what's his name,
Cage.
Christian,
Yeah,
right?
Christian.
Yeah.
Is it Christian?
Let's go. But so he was making a deal with him, and I was
Christian,
so
you were
fucking
so happy
because
when you finally got dumped.
I started
You're like,
clapping,
thank you.
bro.
Like, oh my god.
I started clapping. I was like, all right, Jungle Boy, Christian wins. That's it. Give him the win. I was like, props to him. You know, he just pushed him right out. I was like, yes, finally. He wasn't bad. Again, I don't hate him. I don't hate Matt Hardy. He's, you know,
Well,
he's a
no,
good
they
wrestler.
positioned this as that way you hate him. So,
you know, yeah. It was it was one of those deals where it's like, all right, come on already, like, you can do it, guys. But other than that, seeing like Jungle Boy do his thing and hop around the match and everything like that, that was pretty cool. I liked how he used the ropes to his advantage, and he had a lot of good deals. Like, it made me nervous, but he was outside of the ropes a lot.
Yeah.
Like, he was in the ring definitely, but he was like swinging outside of the ropes and, like, you know, swinging a safety a lot of those times.
You know, it's in his name. He's just swing around.
Yeah, I was almost upset that, like, the cameras didn't pan to him more often, because there was a couple things that he would do, like, at the corner of my eye when other people were fighting, that were just like, oh shit, like, you know, he just did that. So, but other than that, like, you know, that fight was definitely more organized. He definitely knew what was going on more often. And it felt like there was a sense of direction from the start. You know what I mean? So it was nice.
Was there any other names that really stood out to you in that match that you remember?
Who was it? So there was, fuck. So let's see.
Well, if you describe them, probably could name them for you.
Hobbs. Yeah, so I know Hobbs.
Powerhouse
Hobbs,
Hobbs?
that big guy. Yeah, he was pretty crazy. There was times where I think he did duck out once, and I almost forgot about him. And then I forget who took him out. It had to have been Dustin, right? That took out Hobbs?
It was. I think it was Christian.
It was Christian. Okay. But like him, I was expecting more, I will say. I think he did like a good bit. But again, there's only so much you can do in like a fight like that,
Royale.
especially since especially since more and more people are coming out. So it was one of those things where even if I did wish like you know, fighters did a little bit more, or some fighters showed off a little more, at the same time it's one of those things where oh wait, okay, sorry, something else just popped into my head, but I'll finish this thought. But it's one of those things where, like, you know, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much time you have, and you got to fit it all into one big battle royale. Now, the thing I was gonna mention
I almost forgot. How could I forget the wild card?
Yeah, the
right?
Joker
What was his
card,
name
Leo
again?
Rush.
Yeah, Leo Rush. I was so pissed. First off, he was so cool. All right,
We
he
all
comes
were,
out,
bro. We
first
all
off,
were.
Oh my god, he comes out. He was jetting all over the ring, and then all of a sudden he just
Matt
gets
Hardy
thrown out
throws him
like that in the first minute. Yeah, and it's Matt Hardy, which made it even worse. So I was livid, dude. I was pissed. I was like, "Are you kidding me, dude?" I was like, "You could have had him thrown out by like all these other people." And I was like, and no, it's Matt Hardy and his goons. I was like, all right, that's how it's gonna go this match. So I was really expecting, like, honestly, I was so scared. I was like, please do not tell me this motherfucker makes it until the end. He technically did.
Final 3.
But he was taken out. So yeah. So other than that, though,
I think another name
definitely
worth
wish,
mentioning is definitely Max Caster, who came out and just started diss tracking everybody.
oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I would say I wasn't expecting that. I saw him come out. I saw him with the microphone, and I was like, oh shit. But other than that, he did. So he came in. He said a lot of things, obviously.
Yeah, even the dig at Christian was the best. You were better when you had an edge.
The Christian thing. Oh my god. I think that was like one of the only things. Like, I was like, damn.
That was the only one
and
that you
his
got.
face afterwards. Yeah, that was. I think that was the first one too. Like, first or second line. And as soon as he said that, I was like, damn. I caught it immediately. I was like, I know what he's talking about, guys. But I was, and then you see Christian's face. He was just looked around. He was like, "Oh fuck!" I was just like, "Damn, really?"
I thought it was so funny how he gets everybody ring except Powerhouse Hobbs. Like he didn't even say anything about.
Yeah. He was like, it was almost like he ignored him. I was like, "Yeah, he's not trying to catch a smoke. That's it." I'm not trying to get thrown off. I mean, by the end of it, he did.
Yeah,
but
he got eliminated, like, not fairly quickly, but he got eliminated. And I'm like, damn, I wish he'd gone
it was
further.
like semi-quickly. Yeah.
But the Battle Royal was fun. I enjoyed the Battle Royal. But then we got to the latter half of the show. So this is where I think the show died down for a lot of people. And that was when we got to the Cody Rhodes match. Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo. Night and day was his match at Double Nothing 2019 and the match here. Like,
wait, say it again.
I said night and day was the match he had against Dustin Rhodes and the match he had here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would say it was very different. So the main thing here, 1 second. Let me bring this up. So this was after. Here, wait.
Are you sharing a screen?
No. I'm not sharing my screen. I'm trying to go through the cards and see.
Oh yeah, he took notes, guys.
Sure.
He was prepared.
Oh yeah, I took more notes on the 2019.
Yeah,
I would say
it's kind of hard to take a live match. So
yeah, this was after the casino. Here, 1 second.
yeah, me guys, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't take notes. I'm like, yeah. See, when you're like me and you've been reviewing shows for a long time, you can go with not doing notes because you're like, yeah, I kind of remembered some of the shit. But it's alright. George has only been watching. This is like a second show, so we ain't gonna hold it against.
Yeah, this is only the second show. So this is the one I actually saw.
This is the one you came in on.
Okay, this is the one I came. Yeah, this is the one I came in on. And this is
wrong
why
time.
I don't remember it. Yeah, this is remember I don't remember it too much. This fight was different. In a way where it didn't wow me too much. I remember this fight actually. Because we were talking about it, right? And it was funny because now that I do remember it, you go from three or four really good matches, and then this match was like one of those ones that was kind of like it was there.
Well, yeah, there's always that match that has to bring the crowd down because you don't want it to be all energy all the way, and then by the time you get to the last match, they're dead. So you got to bring the crowd down some way. For me, I just didn't like the match, and then the ending of it just sucked. But get back to your point.
Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say that. I was like, it definitely felt like one of those matches where it was those ones where I guess you're waiting for the main course type deal. It's the in between, and I thought it was weird because I was like, I feel like
a match with Cody Rhodes in it, it should be a little more intense or a little more crazy. But again, like you were saying, like you gotta bring the energy down a bit. So it was weird, but they used that fight for it. But other than that, I mean, like, from his first fight, it's not like how do I say it? It was definitely organized differently. So you can't obviously say it was the same. So it's going to be different in ways. And in this fight, it's like a lot of ways with the intensity and, whatnot. I will say from the first fight I saw him in with Dustin, and this one, the first one, he did seem a little bit more like, a little bit more intense, not necessarily, I want to say intense about it. Like, he got a little crazier about it. And in this one, like the most recent one against
Anthony Ogogo.
You said Anthony Ogogo. Yeah. It wasn't too. I didn't see anything too crazy or anything that was like, holy shit, like different from that match that made me want to, like, I guess, or that really pointed itself out.
Now, Anthony Ogogo, he's actually very new. I think he's been training for like the last year or so, so he's a very new wrestler. And he's a former Olympian. He was, I believe, like a bronze medal boxer in the Olympics. So this is like one of his very first like traditional wrestling matches. And, I can't really hate on it too much because one very first, it's not going to be a bang or anything.
Yeah, well, that puts a whole different kind of look on it, I guess, because I definitely didn't know that. So maybe that's why.
And I feel like it was only fair if I put it in there.
Yeah, definitely.
But I see, now for me, I don't like Cody, so I have a bit of a bias towards this match. But then at the same time, there was a lot of reasons why I did not like this match, because as I explained to you during the show, Anthony Ogogo, being an Olympic boxer, his finishing move was the gut punch. Like, he's been ending matches with the gut punch.
Yeah.
And then when he does the gut punch to Cody, he lands and he does a pin him. I'm like, what the fuck? So then when he pins him, Cody's hand's under the rope, which calls for a rope break. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Oh my god, I remember that. So I remember, first off, I remember the gut punch. And you being like, wait, that's it? Like, what's he doing type deal? And then all of a sudden, I remember him, like, waiting a bit, like, again, like you said, and then all of a sudden trying to pin. And he was just laying there staring at him because of the rope break. And I was like, okay, what the fuck is going on now? But I definitely understand that thought. So I was definitely looking for something bigger there. But,
and then Cody got up, and then like a minute later, he hits a vertebreaker and he pins him. I'm like, are you shitting me? Like, he didn't need to win the match. That's how it ends.
No, he didn't. And it's so funny because once he won, my first thought was, I was like, oh shit. I was like, here we go. Because immediately I saw too. I was like, he didn't need to win that. Like, I don't think he needed to win that. Like, I think it would have been fine if he lost that. I think it would have been like a huge thing if he, not necessarily huge, but like I think it would have been like more of an impact if he lost that. But he won, and then my immediate thought was, oh god. I was like, let's see what he has to say. So, but yeah, it was definitely a fight. You know what I'm saying?
It existed. If it didn't happen, the show would have been better.
Yeah, it would have, nobody would have known type deal. It would have been a thing that wouldn't have to have been brought into, I guess.
Existence. And it's not just me or him. Like, this is like a comic consensus. This is like the least liked match in the entire show. So not just like me, like a lot of people didn't like this match.
Yeah.
But then we got to the TNT Championship match where we had Miro versus Lance Archer. And this is like basically another house fight on the show. And this is a real one because these two big guys. Lance Archer is a real
That's a real one.
What'd you think about this match?
This is one of those fights where I was very fucking impressed too. The house fights are fucking cool because, first off, they're giants. Second off, even if they drop their arm with no force, it's a heavy arm,
exactly.
Right? So you're looking at people who are, hitting each other in the chest and like in the head
with arms that already weigh like fucking 50 pounds. So you're not looking at something where it's like, all right, like they're just like, you know, they know how to take these hits and make it look like, you know, it hurts when it doesn't, or like maybe they feel a bit of a tap or a bit of an impact. No, by the end of these matches, these guys' bodies were like just covered in like welts, like red, like what do they call welches,
yeah,
right?
welts.
Like yeah, welts. Sorry, like the welts and bruises and shit like that. Like you can tell immediately, like these guys were hitting each other. Like their chests are swollen. Like these guys are crazy. So a lot of those, like especially that one, that hoss fight, like it's fucking cool. I like to see it. It's dope. So they do a lot. Again, we're gonna go back to the whole like what you got to do for entertainment, and it's wrestling. You know, it's wrestling. So it's a different kind of entertainment. Just how actors will starve themselves or eat like fucking crazy to get ready for a role. You know, these guys, you know, they fucking get beaten up, and that's what it is. So they know how to do that. They do that for a living, and when it comes down to it, when it comes down to them like having to, you know, fight that match or fight throughout that match, like they know, like they come in with the mindset like we're gonna fucking get hurt, like we're gonna make this real, and you know, and that's it. And that's how it felt throughout the fight. Like it felt nice, you know, it felt like refreshing, I guess, almost not refreshing, I want to say, but again, like it was one of those deals where it's pretty crazy to see like they're taking all these hits and just continuously tanking through the fight without, like, I don't know, it's like you see them get hit, you see them daze and everything like that, and obviously most of the time it's going to be part of the act, but then you got to think, you know, not just that one part. We're not going by parts, it's the entirety of that match, you know, that they're getting hit over and over and over again. So you got to imagine during one point or multiple points of that match, they're actually getting dazed. So, and to be able to, like, you know, finish that match and continuously bring that energy back up to where it needs to be, you know, especially with a hoss fight, like that's fucking crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Miro won the match. So
Miro won the match.
So then we got to the women's championship match. We had Hikaru Shida. She defended her championship against Dr. Britt Baker. Yes. So we got to see Britt Baker and Shida again.
Yes, and Britt Baker was lit. So I will say that I like her. She's cool. Again, she has that style that I enjoy, and it's that whole thing where, you know, she doesn't necessarily need to talk big.
She is a very good speaker. If you ever heard her on promo, she's very eloquent, but she is good in the ring.
Yeah, I could imagine. She's the doctor, dude. Exactly. Of course. No, like, but yeah, like she felt like one of those, like, I guess characters where, like, she doesn't need to be like that much like into like I guess shit talking and stuff like that, and it's because like the way I guess she carries herself into the ring, you know, she looks like a professional fighter.
She feels like a professional fighter. They call it a
know?
Star. She feels like a star.
Yeah. So and that's what it is. Like when she walks out into the ring, like she was one of those fighters where, and there obviously I just started, so there are gonna be more, but she was just one of those wrestlers who comes out and it's like, you know, like you said, she's a star. Like she felt like
a big deal.
I don't want to say serious. I don't want to say like serious. Obviously, like, because I don't.
She gave you that, like,
you know,
put your eyes on me. She had the attention grabber.
And the whole thing was like, it wasn't just attention grabber. Like she showed you like it's worth it, and I was like, you know, dope. I'm staying for the show type deal, you know.
And I like it so much because I watched Britt Baker for the last 3 years, and like the first 2 years, Britt Baker was not that good. Like she was not that good at first. Like she's gotten so much better, and now that she's more all rounded, both on the microphone and the ring, it's like, yeah, she definitely is a star now. And going up against Shida, who's, you know, she's a vet in her own right in Japanese wrestling, and seeing that contrast of styles, like, I thought it was really good. I think they kind of had a bit of the Young Bucks type of dose in here, where at points it's like, I don't really know if you needed to extend this match much further, but you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It came to an end, you know, and it was a nice end. I think it was one of those things where it's like, but it was the end where it's like hell
Exactly.
yeah,
Britt Baker winning was awesome.
It was a
Because Britt Baker was the villain in this match. She was the heel, man. She got cheered very heavily when she won.
Yeah, I know. So it was one of those things where it's like you can't help. Like it was a long fight, but hell
Exactly.
yeah, it's a deal.
Britt Baker for the win.
It was good. It was good.
What did you think about Hikaru Shida? She alright.
So yeah, no, they were both good. They were both good. I like them both. She was the one with who brought the yeah. I was about to say I didn't know what to call it.
Oh,
Thanks. But,
dude, I still remember the one part where I think Britt Baker's manager Rebel had her crutch, and I think her intention was to hit Shida, but Shida pulled Britt Baker in and she smacked her. She smacked Britt with it, and then Shida went for the pin. I'm like, no.
Oh my god, I remember that. And the look on her face after she smacked her with a crutch, she was just like, oh shit, I am so sorry. I was just like, wow, you really just did that. So I think that part was like nicely done, especially the acting, because like it's one of those moments where even in real life when you do something that like you're not really supposed to do, or you do it thinking it's gonna help and it just does the worst, and that face that you make was just her face, and I loved it.
It was excellent.
I loved it so much. It was just like confusion and like regret.
Yeah. But Britt Baker's the new AEW Women's Champion. I can't wait to see her reign because she's been killing it for the last year. So now that she's the champion, I'm really excited. Then we got into the next tag team match. Darby Allin and Sting versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky.
Oh yeah. This match was
was very fun.
What do you have to say? What do you have to say on this match?
Like you said, I thought it was very fun because like I've said before, wrestling is so many different styles. You can have a serious match, and this was a fun match. Like when I first came into this match, I was kind of worried because Sting is 63 years old and he hasn't wrestled in like 6 years. He had a match early in the year, but it was a cinematic match where there's a lot of editing and it's shot like a movie. So it's like he didn't really have to work. But in this match, he had to actually wrestle. And I was kind of worried when he came out and it's like he had a shirt on. He's trying to hide his body. I'm like, oh man, he's self-conscious, but I am too sometimes, so I get it. And like they're attacking them before the match starts and I'm like, oh boy. So then Scorpio Sky suplexes Sting on the ramp. Now, I watch professional wrestling enough to know that this is a trope where a lot of times in a tag team match, someone gets laid out, it turns into a 2-on-1, and then the person later comes back, and then, you know, they end up winning the match. So that's what I thought was going to happen. But they broke that trope, and Sting got right up, walked up to him, sent him off the ramp, and then dove on top of him, took his shirt off, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. That's what shit started getting crazy. I was like, this dude really flew. He was
63.
63? This dude's 63 and dives off of that thing. Oh my god. He got some distance, bro. And he landed perfectly too. So he's still got some.
But then he got into the ring and he's going. Like this match went a little over 10 minutes and Sting was in the ring for a lot of it. Like I was impressed.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm thinking, okay, Darby's the younger one. He's gonna be in the Sting was in the ring for most of the match.
Darby got his ass kicked the entire time.
He did.
Dude, I was almost pissed because at the end of the match, he was like wobbling around. He was like, yeah. Like I was like,
you lost.
Sting
Get out of here.
you lost. Sting won, all right? And Sting was just like looking around and looks at Darby, and I was just like, my immediate thought was like, Sting just in his head like, shut the fuck up. You lost. I won. Like, so that was a match that surprised me too. I was like, because Darby was just first off. He's getting his ass handed to him, and then finally tags Sting in. Wait, was this the match with the confusing illegal tag or legal tag? Which one was that match?
The illegal tag.
There was a point where, not illegal, sorry. There was a weird thing
where I think he tried to tag Sting in, but Sting wasn't actually in. It was like a weird point of the match. I'm pretty sure that was
It may
this
have been
match,
that, or maybe
if I'm
the Young
not
Bucks
mistaken.
match.
Possibly one of the two. But
No, it was this match. I remember what you're talking about. It was definitely this match. Yeah.
it was this one. Okay. So it was weird because like it was just.
Yeah,
it was
Sting
just a
was
spot of
already in the
confusion.
ring, and then he tried to tag. I'm like, wait a minute, what? You didn't know who was legal for a second.
Yeah, and it was just weird. But other than that, like just I think it was like a small part.
I love the finish.
He
though.
came in and he roughed them up.
Yes,
the
with
finish.
Scorpio's, because I don't think you know that's the Scorpio Sky's finish, but he's on the outside and he twists into the ring because he usually goes for like a cutter, like an RKO. But Sting
Yeah,
caught him and hit the
yeah.
Scorpion Death Drop, and it was so out of nowhere. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, that's it? I'm like, holy shit, that's it.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I went
remember
crazy
that.
because I'm like,
Okay.
it was so out of nowhere and unexpected, but I'm like, that was so cool.
Yeah, I think I remember that. That was that whole match surprised me. All right, you don't expect a 63-year-old man to come out and just kick
And
ass
I
like
feel
that.
like I
will
kind
say.
of hate it in a sense because I'm like, this is your first exposure to Darby Allin. And like, Darby Allin is so much better than just being the guy getting beat. Now, mind you, Darby Allin is really great in that role of getting beat up because he is a daredevil and he's willing to
Yeah.
take those type of spots that are really
Yeah,
fucking dangerous.
yeah.
But like in this match, he got his
yeah.
ass kicked almost the whole time, so you really didn't get to see what he's about.
Oh no, yeah.
In this match.
Ooh, holy shit! Like, I remember you explaining to me that like during the match, like how he's like a daredevil, so he'll take like some of the craziest hits and he will
Yeah.
mind it. And like you see that like him being literally thrown like into the post or out of the ring or wherever. So like you see him definitely handling like some of the bigger hits, which I think the way they tried to go with it was, I think it was like the whole thing with, since Sting is old, we'll make it seem like this like whole thing is going on, but I think it went like way a little too far, like with like Darby just again like getting his
The
ass
whole
kicked the
time.
entire match. Like damn, I know you
Kind of made
you
him
want
look weak
like
in a sense. Not gonna lie.
yeah, and then at the end when he won and was like cheering like that, I was like, all right, I was like, you had to give him some more during the fight. Otherwise, like at the end, he can't cheer like that. At the end, like at least come up and
Celebrate.
like get like yes, celebrate, but like sort of deal where you're like thanking Sting type deal. Where it's like, oh, thank you. I would have got my ass kicked back there. Not like, yeah, we fucking won. Like this dude is going nuts. Oh my god.
They got to give a lot of props to
But yeah.
Scorpio Sky because they definitely held it together with Sting being in there because you got to put the right guy in there with somebody that age, and I feel like they did a great job.
Yes. Yeah, we talked about that too during the match,
Yeah.
I believe. Where, you have to know how to take a hit or you have to know how to react in order to make the move look nice. Otherwise, it just makes it look like, you overreact and that makes it look like nothing actually happened, or you'll just underreact and it just makes it look like either the hit missed or it wasn't just that big of
Yeah.
a deal. So, but they did it really nicely.
Yeah, so that was the match. Darby and Sting won, and then we get into his favorite match, my favorite match, everybody's favorite match, which was the triple fight for the AEW World Championship: Kenny Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy. Now, this was your second exposure to Kenny Omega, and your second exposure to Orange Cassidy, and your first to Pac.
Yes.
But I remember
Yes,
you were on a high during this match.
Yeah, this match got me worked up, dude. This match is cool. I remember, so there was a point I missed the beginning, like the very beginning, and it was because I was going to grab something. I'll put this in here real quick. Why not? And I noticed my neighbors aren't home, but his mom is, and she's like, I don't know, 70. So I saw her garage open at 11 o'clock at night, and I was like, fuck. And I was just walking into the house. I was like, fuck it. And I stopped myself, and I was like, So I had to like walk around her whole house, make sure. I was like trying to see if she's awake, because I was like, I don't want to knock on the door and scare her. So there was this whole thing where I wanted to help her out because I don't want to leave the garage open. They have a lot of things.
Good guy.
So it took me like, it took me a good minute, but we finally got the garage closed and I came inside. Other than that, as soon as I sat down and started watching this fight, like I would say it pulled me in. It was a dope fight. I mean, first off, you have Kenny Omega and him.
Yeah.
in
So
himself,
how was it for
and
you
he's-
seeing Kenny Omega as the good guy and now as the bad guy?
It was a little different. I will say that. So his acting is great. We'll go back to that. I mentioned I was gonna come back to it 100 times, so here we are. All right, I'm a man of my word. But again, Kenny Omega's acting is amazing. I remember there was this one comment where they said, you know, Kenny Omega's stuff in Japan is like the stuff in the U.S. but on crack. And after seeing that comment, like, and I looked over to the screen, and you know, you see Kenny get hit, and then him coming back, and you see his face just filled with insanity. Dude, I was like, that's a villain. I was like, that's what it is. I was like, he's going nuts right now. So I really liked it. I really liked how he like showed himself off during that fight. And it was weird at first to like, it's like, you know, hero and then all of a sudden villain, and then you know, but he played it, you know, he played it really nicely. Oh yeah, so I mean, and to have someone like that, I mean, they're lucky. First off, they're lucky as fuck to have someone like him, like, and to have people like them, because it's like you know, in the past, you've had so many wrestlers where just a lot of their expressions made no sense in the fight.
They're blank.
Or like
they can't. They don't have that
yeah,
range. Like,
yeah.
Kenny Omega has so much range.
Yeah, exactly. And like he, you know, it's not just about wrestling. It's not just about fighting. It's about, you know, how you sell it through your emotions and through your acting. So, and he does that very, very, very well. So, and that's why I think he is one of the best. So, you know, that's just one of those deals where, you know, when someone tells you that someone else is the best, you'll see it. Like, you'll see it if it's real. And, you know, I can see it, obviously. You can see it from him and from his actions. So it's dope. I like it, definitely.
What about Pac?
Pac is a guy. He's funny too. Oh my god. I liked it when Orange Cassidy tried to steal the win. So he threw Pac out, and he tried to pin Kenny, but it didn't work, and then Pac comes back in and practically taps him on the shoulder. So he's one of those guys where, again, like, he's just that big guy who, like, he's pretty serious. He's a pretty serious dude. And he did some things in this match where he took both of them and like folded them into pretzels. So like it was a match where nothing was going on, you know what I mean? Something was always going on. So some of those matches, like you were talking about earlier, like when you knock someone out and then it becomes like a 1v1 or a 2v1 type deal. But this match, like, you know, when somebody got knocked out, it was never just like sitting around and doing nothing, or like sitting around just beating on one person or beating on whatever. Like, it was just always something happening, even when someone was knocked out on the ground or like what do you call it, recovering. It was just one of those fights. So I think that's why, like, it kept me in the entire time, because there was always someone trying to go for a pin. There was always someone putting someone else into submission. Oh my god, especially when Pac put Orange Cassidy in the submission and Kenny Omega. Oh my god, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, I was laughing my ass off the entire time. And Kenny is like, first off, he took his sweet ass time getting back into the ring. And then all of a sudden he starts hitting him, and then Pac looks at him and gives him a smile. He was like, nah. I was like, oh god, no. I thought he was gonna win the match off of it. And then you all of a sudden see Kenny looking at him, then looking at the ref, then looking at him, and then look up, and that immediately thought, dude, I was like...
It's like that second before he hits it, you're like, no!
Yes. I was like, you don't know what's worse, the fact that he can't break it up, or the fact that he had to go for the ref. And you know,
but it's that
desperation.
You're like, I get why he did it.
Oh, hell yeah.
I get it.
Oh hell yeah. He needs to win. He needs that belt, and that's what it was. You know, he's the villain. Who gives a shit? Like,
You know, it's that type of deal where he went for the ref. You know, that's why he's the villain. He went for the ref. You know, and now, you know, it comes to the point where there are gonna be no calls. Like you can do anything at this point, which is the risk he had to take to get the
but the
win.
part earlier in the match, or it might have been later. No, it was definitely earlier when Orange Cassidy came back into the mix and he's running wild and he hits the Orange Crush, which is his like high punch, onto Pac and he knocks him out.
Yeah.
And then he gets Kenny up and he hits him. And one of the commentators was Kenny Omega's manager, Don Callis. And like I was listening to it back, and you can hear Don Callis say shit, 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 and then he puts the headset down.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice it until the second go around. But when he goes to pin Kenny Omega, and the referee counts to 2, and he gets pulled out of the ring, I'm like, oh my God. I was so angry. Because
Dude,
that spot's been done
my
so
God.
many times in pro wrestling, you're used to it, but like, no, like, I didn't expect it.
Yeah, I don't think. Oh my God, dude, I was so hyped. I thought he was gonna win, man. I was about to start crying, bro. Like, listen, he went off. All right, I was literally in the video, and so I was like, he gets hit with something, and I was like, there's no way, because I think Pac hit him with something. Maybe it was a suplex, maybe it was whatever. But all I know is that he got hit pretty hard and he was dazed. And I was like, oh man, I don't know if Cassidy can come back, dude. As soon as I said that, this dude just goes, oh my God, it was so hype. He just goes off, takes both of them out. Oh my God, I thought he had it. That's all I'll say. That's all I can say. I thought he had it. I was so hyped for that moment. I was about to like, I was ready to jump out of my chair and just celebrate and wake everyone up, even though I don't watch wrestling like that, which is the craziest part. Like, you never expect someone to come into like sports, like fucking like FIFA or like football or anything, and then all of a sudden be hyped for just a team that they
means
just
he
picked
did a
up
great
like
job,
immediately.
especially that Orange Cassidy
But
guy.
they did an amazing job with this fight. I think with the emotion and with the intensity and with, you know, with showing what was at stake. That was it. Like, to show that, like, you know, how big of a deal it would have been if he won. Like, and it gives you that idea, because otherwise the caster would have never pulled the ref out, you know what I mean? But it would have been a huge if he won. And
even the ending where Orange Cassidy goes to pin Kenny Omega and the referee's down, and then the new referee comes out, and you're like, oh my God. But dude, so much time passed by that Kenny Omega had enough time to recuperate. And when the referee got into the ring, Kenny Omega turned it into a crucifix pin, and he got it. And I'm like, fuck. I was so aggravated, but it's the good kind of aggravated, because you're supposed to be mad.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Like, I will say, like, I was like, oh my God. It was crazy. I thought he was gonna win, especially with that second pin, and the second ref comes in. That was, first off, that was hype as fuck. Like, that was even, oh my God, everyone went nuts. And then all of a sudden, when he turned that around, it was that point in time where, like, I was watching through the reaction video, and I saw my face just go from like yes to like everything just
like,
stopping.
Wait, no.
Everything just stopped. It wasn't even that. It was like after the fact. Like, I saw it happen, and I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait, no. Like, yeah. It just started the realization. I was like, no fucking way. And they just did that match. Oh my God, like, it was amazing. I loved it. Like, the way they like planned out everything, the way they played everything out. Oh my God. Like, they did it in such a good way where, again, like you were saying, like everybody was just in it. Like, the crowd, the viewers, even the fighters, the fucking ref was probably like hype as fuck.
It was an
like,
excellent
I get to get pulled
match.
Out. What didn't I?
It's one of those matches that makes you proud to be a wrestling fan. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm. I also feel like, though, it's one of those matches where it's like, I don't want to say once in a blue moon, but you have them once every so often, and I don't know. I hope we definitely see a lot more like that. But yeah, it definitely feels like one of those matches where, like, it was an event. That was a real event, you know. So
It was nice.
It was awesome. And then that led us until Kenny Omega retained the title, so he's still the champion. I'm like, boo. But it's cool though, because I'm waiting for Hangman Page to get back to that spot so we can get Kenny Omega Hangman Page, because like I told you before, they were former tag team partners. And they broke up, and then Kenny Omega won the title. And the only reason Hangman Page didn't face Kenny Omega on the show is because Brian Cage beat him at a previous show and it knocked him out of contention. So,
yeah.
But then that led us into the main event, which was the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana and Ortiz versus the Pinnacle, Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, MJF, Shawn Spears, and Wardlow. And it was in a stadium stampede match. Where the match starts off in a stadium, and then they make their way to the ring. So, what did you think about the concept of this match?
So the concept, the whole concept sounds like, obviously you hear the word stampede, and you think like just complete fucking chaos, right? And it's like the whole thing is like, oh, this is about to be like badass and everything like that. And when they started it, I will say the way they started it was a little slow and awkward. Who was it? Was it the Inner Circle that jumped off the roof?
The Inner Circle.
Which one was? Yeah, it was the Inner Circle that jumped off the top of the stadium, and they basically rappelled down. But you gotta imagine from the time that they're at the top of the stadium, and then the time to rappel down, it took a minute. So they were it was just kind of that one thing where who was standing on the ground again? What was his name?
MJF.
What was it, sorry? Oh, MJF. So it was one of those things where like MJF like had to continue reacting until they got to the ground. So it was, and the camera, it kept cutting back to him, and like, so they're calling for a reaction for a good, like, it was a good like 2-minute reaction as they were like rappelling down. So it did feel a little awkward because he was there just like, what? What? And then it turned into like, yeah, get your asses down here then. Come on, come at me. And then it went to like him like walking up to them, and as soon as they hit the ground, he just ran all the way back to the limo. And I was like, yo, what the fuck just happened? It was like one of those things where like, you know how like when you're a kid and your friends dare you to like touch the fence and run back because there's a dog on the other side or some shit? Like that's what it was. And other than that though, I would say like once it started like going out into like the single fights through the stadium, it started getting chaotic. Then I liked it. So they sort of brought it back, and obviously my favorite part was when somebody finally got thrown through a window. Yes, because
Jericho throwing MJF through the window.
Oh my god!
Because you were actually asking for it like earlier, and I'm like, I'm sure it's going to happen at some point.
I was like, dude, there are so many windows in here.
Just one window. Just one window.
And I think the other part, which like you gotta imagine they put it in there for the joke. I don't know. I that was my initial thought, which is what made it like even better for me.
Shawn Spears in the chair room. There was so because when they cut, it was so weird because they cut to him. And the lights turn on, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I get it, because he's the chairman, and he loves chairs, but I'm like, and then Sammy walks in, but it's weird, because it's this purple lighting, and the way he's in the middle, I felt like I was about to watch, like, the opening to a sex scene or something. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
No, dude, oh my god. It was so funny, though, like, there's just so many chairs, and throughout the whole stadium too. Like once they started like leaving there, like just chairs
they're going into like the
everywhere.
utility room, and then there's like a hammer and a wrench and this, and then he sees the chair and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take the chair."
I love that. That was the best part. He looked at the wrench, he looked at the hammer, picks up wrench, throws wrench, grabs chair. The wrench comes into play later on. It wasn't wrench, it was a wire cutter. What it was, right? Or so it was actually really funny. It was pretty smart how they played that out. Like they threw in the joke and then it played into another solution. So it was it was there. But I did when I saw the chairs, my immediate thought was just wrestler's paradise, just filled with chairs. Oh my god, just the vast sea of chairs.
And everybody else got like spots, and you're like, Wardlow and Jake Hager brought into the meat room, which was kind of
Oh
kind
my
of
God,
cool,
yeah.
kind of weird at the same time. And then Santana Ortiz, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler were in like a club or a bar, which was kind of funny.
Yeah,
And then they
yep.
kind of made their way to the ring, and it was Sammy and Shawn Spears that made their way to the ring. And I was a little
Yes.
disappointed because I wanted it to be MJF and Sammy, given the storyline, which you wouldn't understand because you didn't watch the storyline. But we got Shawn and Sammy. I'm like, okay. So they bowed out for, I think, like 2 minutes, and then Sammy won. And I'm like, okay. All right, I'm happy that Sammy won because Sammy was, like, getting pushed around for a lot of it. So I'm happy that he got the W. Inner Circle won the match.
Yeah, they ended it really nicely, I thought. I think at the end, I saw, which is, like, off note, I guess, but I saw a post on Twitter with Sammy, I guess, kissing his,
I think his
was
girlfriend.
a wife or girlfriend or something else. Yeah, 'cause that was pretty cute. I was like, oh, I was like, he won the match and is celebrating now.
Exactly.
It's like, what are you gonna do now? I'm gonna go to Disney World. You know what I'm saying?
But before I ask you for your thoughts on this show, I gotta talk about this one thing, and I think it's gonna be really interesting to get a perspective of somebody who's not really a wrestling fan, because I already have my perspective on it. But I want to say it was after the match. I guess the person who was involved in the match took a picture of all of them watching the match back. Let me send it to the chat so that way you know what I'm looking at.
Oh,
You probably
I
have
think I
seen
remember.
it already. But yeah, it's a picture of the guys in the mats watching it back. And I think and it's not a wrestler. I think it was the coach of the football team, the Jaguars, posted the picture, and like a lot of wrestling fans are losing their shit over it. Like, I can't believe they posted this picture because, like, in wrestling there's this thing called kayfabe, which is like, you know, you're trying to keep the illusion that it's real. And usually when people are opponents or in a feud, they're not nice with each other. So the fact of seeing Chris Jericho and MJF, who are opponents in the match, backstage watching it, it's like, oh, it's breaking kayfabe. It's, you know, like people were saying, like, oh, it's, you know, it's shit. That's not supposed to be wrestling. It's like, what is your take on that? Seeing the picture of like these two backstage watching their match back, does it bother you?
So, it doesn't bother me. I think it's alright. So my whole view on it is, I've always like found that really cool. That I guess even in the, I guess, this sense where we could take it back to like even like a movie or some shit like that, you know. Someone plays the villain and someone plays the hero, and then, you know, you see like the behind the scenes of them actually going through and like, you know, doing fights and then like laughing throughout the fight, or like laughing like you know, at the end of it, or like checking out the fight and being like, oh dude, this was so cool, you should have done this or you should have done that. And I don't think like it's bad, especially because it's one of those things where even in a picture like this, like, I think it's a cool thing to see where like two wrestlers, even if they're on the opposing sides, are able to kind of like go over their own footage and you know, not just look at it like, oh, that was dope, like, you know, just look at it and give each other like tips
Critiques.
and like different like and I think that helps when it comes to an actual fight, because, you know, all of a sudden, like, it's like, you know, you'll see Jericho, it's like, oh, like, you know, hey dude, next time when I do this, you know, react this way, so, you know, on your part it'll look better, or on my part it'll look better. And I understand that whole thing where like, okay, like they're supposed to be enemies and it's supposed to like, you know, do this and that, but again, like in that picture they don't necessarily have to be friends either. You don't know what's going on in this picture. They like could actually not like each other and they're just standing next to each other watching the fight over again. So, I mean, this isn't a video of them hugging or shaking hands either. So you can't tell me that this whole thing is going to be like, how dare you, it takes us out of it, they're not enemies anymore. No. Does it look like they're smiling at each other and shaking hands? No. They're just looking at footage, and this is what this is.
And my argument, which a lot of people were just trying to argue me on that, was that it is similar to real life people in jobs being off the clock. Like, they're not on the clock, they're not in the ring, they're not during a match, it's not on TV, they are off screen. So whatever they do, like, why the fuck does that matter? Like, I understand if they're on screen, yes, keep to the script, keep to what they're doing. Don't tell me directly to my face wrestling is fake. But if they are not entertaining you. Why does it matter that they're hanging out? That's what I don't fucking get.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't think actual fighters don't hang out sometimes, or don't like see each other on the street, like and be like, "Hey, what's good?" Like, good fight.
Like, do you think
like, come
Robert
on.
Downey
Like,
Jr. and like what is his name? I almost want to say Josh Brolin. Like, they never hung out with each other once before the movie.
Yeah.
Like, no, they definitely have, bro.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of those things where like I think people were just taking it too seriously and want something to complain about. So like it's one of those things where, oh, you did something wrong and I want to point it out type deal. I don't think it's a huge deal. I don't think it like really takes anyone out of the experience.
Exactly.
Obviously, I went into wrestling, like I mentioned earlier, when I was a kid. Like, you don't know wrestling is fake, and then as you grow older, you realize, you know, it's not as real as you thought it was. And you know, from there you can go two different ways. You can either grow apart from it or just continue to watch it. For me, I grew apart from it. My cousins already knew, obviously,
Yeah.
you know, so they're telling me, you know, it's all fake anyway. It's all fake anyway. And I was like, you know, after watching it for so long, I was like, well, what's the point? And then coming back to it with the mindset of knowing that it's fake, honestly helped, because now I don't just look at it as fighting anymore. I look at it as, you know, entertainment. I look at it as them putting on, you know, a show and being able to go so far that it works. So seeing something like this and knowing what they go through, like an actual match, is like, give them a fucking break, because they do a lot of things to make it work for you to continue to watching, even though you know it's fake. And then all of a sudden it's like a picture like this is posted. Like, it's like, what are you gonna do when you see them on a red carpet? Like, freak out? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So that makes no sense.
I don't get it. I mean, that's an older wrestling fan mindset where it's like, yeah, back in the day they're supposed to keep it, and you're still supposed to keep it today.
Yeah.
But back to my point is that if they were in the ring and they did something like this, yes, make that argument. I would even agree with you.
Yeah.
But they're not in the ring.
Yeah.
They're not on TV.
They're not.
They're backstage watching something back. The coach of a different, not part of the wrestling industry, of a different football team took the picture, posted it online. Like, what is your problem? Get over yourself.
Yeah. So, yeah, and especially like you were saying, since it's not even a person that's like really associated with that, like, you know, they're just saying like, hey guys, this is cool, check it out, like, type deal. And it is cool. Check it the fuck out, because they're in his stadium, like, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? So they're hanging out, and that's a once in a lifetime thing, I think. But I definitely think, like, you know, people are being too serious with that. Like, I mean, no matter what it's with sports or with like TV shows or whatever the fuck you're looking at, people can, like you said, clock off, and once they clock off, and that's it, that mindset, you know, it changes. Like, you're not that douchebag that you portray yourself to be anymore. You're not that hero that you portray yourself to be anymore. You're just the person you were before the match.
Oh boy.
And, you know, whatever that person is, that's their business. You know, that's who they want to be, and they're just hanging out. I think it's fine. It doesn't throw anything out of place, because, like you said, they're not in the ring or in a place that, like, they need to be. Like, they need to show that character. It's more like, you know, you obviously see they're somewhere, you know, technically backstage, where they're just reviewing footage, and they're looking at it like, you know, that played out pretty well. This played out pretty well, or this could have done better. And that's what this looks like. It doesn't look like they're necessarily just hanging out and being friends and enjoying things together. Obviously, it looks like they're probably the two in there that are mostly paying attention to the footage. Like, everyone else looks like, you know, oh, that's cool. But when you look at both of them, their faces don't say like just, oh, that's cool. Like, their faces are like, you know, this went pretty well, I'm happy with it, type deal. It's not like, you know, and that's what I see in the picture. It's more criticism and them trying to like work and like review some things over like just hanging out and watching a TV show. So,
oh man, so You don't know who this guy is, but his name is Dave Meltzer. He's like a very esteemed wrestling personality. Like he's been in the business for like a long time. He writes newsletters and this kind of stuff, and he's very like well respected by the wrestling fans. And he does this thing called like match ratings, which he does for like just about every major show, and it's always really interesting to see what he does because fans get so angry when he does not rate a match high enough. It's always really funny to see.
Yeah.
Like I'm like it just dropped today showing what he thought about the Double or Nothing show. Like he rates his stuff out of like 5. Like 5 being like the greatest and then, 0 being shit. And like I'm looking at it now and I'm seeing that he gave Orange Cassidy versus Omega versus Pac like a 4.5. But then he gave Kingston and Moxley versus the Young Bucks 4.75. And it's like, interesting.
What?
But it's like, I'm not going to be sitting here and get like fucking worked up that he gave a match higher than the other. Like, it's just interesting to see that, he thought this match is better. Because I think that the Triple Threat's the best match on the show, but,
Oh, yeah. I think, like, not to say the Young Bucks were bad, like, obviously. They had some, like, it was a good fight in a sense where they were able to keep that whole like I hate you type deal going on. So I think that might have been a good deciding factor. But I definitely think, in my opinion, I definitely think there was a lot more emotion and like a lot more stake going on in the Triple Threat. Especially because like you see them telling Orange Cassidy like, you're the mascot, like stay as the mascot.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying, you're very important to us, but we need you as the mascot. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, I have to fucking win this. And that's one of those things where it's like,
storytelling.
You have your own like, that's like, and each character has their own thing going on, and that's why it's even more important. So, the Young Bucks one was really nice also, because it had something like that going on, but it was more of like a, these guys are douchebags and we want to beat them type deal. Like, we want to show them who's real boss. We want to show them to, bring it down a notch. And that's what that fight like felt like it was more about. So I think personally, the Triple Threat might have gotten a higher score in my books, but they're both real good fights. The whole thing was a really nice show.
Yeah. So 2021 Double or Nothing. What would you give this show out of 10? Because you gave 2019 an 8 out of 10. What would you give 2021?
Yes, I would give that a point higher. I think a 9.5. I think there was definitely a lot of things going in that show, especially since it was more organized. You were able to kind of feel everything out a little bit more. The Stampede thing had an awkward start, so I think like it was a little slower and ended off nice. And I really liked that throughout the Stampede fight that they had those like chair jokes in there and whatnot. And obviously, he got thrown through a window, MJF. So that was nice. Not through, all right. He got bashed. His head got put through a window. But other than that, like everything there went really, really nice. Actually, either 9 maybe 9 flat. We'll do half a point just because we lost some intensity through
Cody match.
What do you call it? Cody's match and through some of that Stampede. But other than that, like the whole thing was really, really
as
nice.
I said in my live stream, 9 out of 10, 9.5 if the Cody match never happened.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was funny. I started laughing at that. I was like, that's true.
That's true. But yeah, that was our thoughts on AEW Double or Nothing 2019 and 2021. You're probably wondering, what about 2020? Fuck 2020, bro. Everyone hates that year. That's why we didn't. That's why we didn't review it. No one likes 2020, bro. Exactly.
No 2020. Yeah.
But yo, that was our very first episode of the Botched Recount podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a sunshine emoji in the comment section if you listen throughout the entire thing. We're gonna see who actually listened to the entire thing.
Hey.
Drop a sunshine emoji. And yeah, we'll be back very, very soon. This weekend is a New Japan show. I might have to show you that. We might have to do it again for the New Japan show. And then I've been hyping this guy up about Lucha Underground. So we're going to show him Lucha Underground 2. There's Stardom. There's so much wrestling to get into. And there's like, we're never going to run out of content. There's so much wrestling out there. And that's why I'm really excited about this podcast. But yeah, guys, that was the Botched 3 count. We will be here on the Tyler-kun Williams next time as well. We'll be moving on to our own YouTube channel very, very soon. But, you know, bigger channel, want to get that exposure out. So it's going to be a few of the, maybe the first couple or few episodes are going to be here. Then everything else is going to be on a new channel, which is coming very soon. But thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later. Peace out.